This is the title story to a collection I wrote called You Stay Here. It's about 20 minutes long, and this is part 1. When someone ejects from a jet, there's a fizzling pop that to the untrained ear sounds like a flare gun. To Shane, it sounded like God scraping a gigantic wooden match across the sky. He immediately looked heavenward. The townspeople around him either ignored the sound or looked up with dull expressions of mild curiosity, shielding eyes with cupped hands. Shane then noticed that his father had disappeared. Dad was still in existence, still wearing the same civilian clothes he favored on Saturdays, chinos, gray Naval Academy sweatshirt, worn-out sneakers, and Ray-Ban aviators. But the errand at the shoe store had canceled itself, and in the time it took for Shane's father to dash across the street to their station wagon, everything about him transformed. He abruptly became the mysterious professional that Shane had only speculated about, the naval aviator who vanished every year or so for months on end to catapult jets off an aircraft carrier into parts unknown. The guy Shane was seeing right now would not even emerge on Monday when his father headed off to work at the base. No, this was a rare sighting, a thrilling thing to see. To Shane, it was an undeniable morph. Military professional dad sprinting out of casual Saturday morning dad like a molting raptor. It provided a fascinating counterpoint to the drama in the sky. Get in, get in, get in, he barked. Dad's adrenaline was infectious. Shane was across the street into the car and riding shotgun in one smooth motion. The station wagon peeled out in reverse before Shane had even closed the door. 3-on-the-tree transmission flicked into drive, and they were launched. They followed the downward trajectory of 2 descending parachutes to the outskirts of town, Shane and his father leaning outside windows like a pair of dogs. Shane scanned the horizon for a plume of smoke, the telltale signs of impact. "Shouldn't we follow the jet? Isn't it going to crash?" Shane squeaked. "Negative, it's an F-9. Shane didn't know what F-9 meant, his knowledge of naval aircraft being greater than the average citizen's, but still somewhat limited. He choked out a "yes, sir," that was lost on the wind. His father zeroed in on the parachute, which touched down in a bare farm field about a half-mile distant. Shane gasped as his father veered the station wagon off-road and into the field, bucking over furrows, sending up a rooster tail of dust. As they approached, triangulation of ejection, sighting, and recovery nearly complete, Shane saw a parachute gently tugging a stiff and seemingly unconscious body across the ground. Shane had never felt more alive in all of his 7 years. "Is he dead?" Out of the car and running towards the lifeless form, Shane's heart thunked like a washing machine with a lopsided load. Dad's pupils had dilated into black cherries. Ripping off his Ray-Bans, his father knelt over the motionless figure. Shane hung back, waiting in terrible anticipation as if Dad were about to deliver last rites. Shane felt himself about to cry as he watched his father's shoulders shudder. It took Shane a second to realize that it was not a shudder of grief, but a chuckle of relief. Shane rushed forward and saw a mannequin in a flight suit, face painted gold. The effect was spooky and holy, like some kind of 14-karat idol had globbed off the sun and floated down to earth. Shane didn't quite understand. He pitched forward into the dirt clods of a furrow, joined his father in a kneeling position. "Air show out at the base," said his father. "Someone hit the eject button too soon." Shane suddenly remembered. Air show, that's right. They were all going tomorrow. "Why is it a mannequin?" "This is just for the public's entertainment. He was supposed to eject in front of the crowd. Remember last year? You don't punch a real man out of a jet unless you have to," he said, adding, "dangerous." His father shot up to full stature. On went the Ray-Bans. Military professional Dad swiveled his head due east. "You stay here." As he watched Dad double-time to the car, Shane's heartbeat started up again, like a fist knocking hard on a window to stop someone from leaving. "Where are you going?" "That other parachute is the seat. I've got to recover it." Then he sternly repeated, "You stay here." Shane watched him drive off in the general direction of where the other parachute had landed, over by the high school. He'd forgotten that there'd been 2 parachutes, and the fact that this crucial bit of information was lost in the excitement of the moment left Shane feeling incompetent. But now he was in charge of, what, mannequin detail? No matter. He was determined to do a good job. It was important, this assignment. True, it had dropped into his hands, literally from the sky, but that was how these things happened. You can't predict anything. He now understood that it was better this way, better to have greatness thrust upon you unexpectedly, purity of fate and all that. And he'd never felt greatness before, especially around Dad. It wasn't part of Shane's vagrant emotional vocabulary. There was little reason for his father to ever really see his buck-toothed son as anything extraordinary. Dad seemed to be waiting for something, some defining event to promote Shane to the next level of intimacy. There was a constant shadow over Shane, an inescapable fear of falling behind. Every time his father deployed overseas, and he left at least once a year, it was like they all had to suddenly fend for themselves. And when Dad returned, there was little effort on his part to get current, to grasp the important challenges and changes they'd all endured. Just a sort of glossed-over, half-assed attempt to catch up, followed by an awkward period of readjustment as Dad, sometimes heavy-handedly, reasserted his authority over the family. Like the time just a month ago, Dad came back, and the very next day he forced Shane to mow the lawn over and over again until a 50% overlap on all rows was achieved. He tried to argue with his father that 20% was just fine. Who cares as long as no tufts of grass are missed? 20% had been fine for his mother, and Shane, why 50% now? But his father prosecuted his point of view like it was a war, and Shane could not dissuade him. This was the natural order of things, or so Shane thought. Shane was glad they were doing this new greatness thing together, certain that when it was all over, the dynamic between him and Dad would be very different. It would be something they'd talk about for the rest of their lives. He couldn't wait to brag about it to his older sister, Bridget, who lorded her fifth-grade advantage over Shane with a condescension that, in fact, seemed overly imitative of Dad. The mannequin's gold face glowed, soft like butter, yet hard like stone. Shane reached out and touched the face, then recoiled at the cheap roughness of its complexion. It was disappointing, like touching crucified Christ at church, tactility unmasking all pretense. Not quite styrofoam, not quite plastic. Wood, maybe? Voices and footsteps, people approaching. Unlike Shane's father, they parked politely along the road and trotted over to investigate. Shane sidled up alongside the mannequin. A fat man and his skinny wife arrived, huffing and sweating. Other people followed, including a kid on a mini bike and 3 high school boys. The high school boys fondled the parachute, then thrust their hands into the pockets of their jeans. Shane wished his father would return. "He's okay," said the fat man. Then he saw the reality. His wife put the words in his mouth. "It's a dummy!" "He's not a dummy," said Shane. "It's a mannequin." The crowd clotted around Shane. "My father went to recover the seat," said Shane. "It was an F9. "Huh?" said the teenager with splotchy pimples. "From the air show. Someone hit eject by accident." The fat man nudged the mannequin with his foot. Shane fought the urge to slap away the man's shoe. "Your dad left you out here?" "He had to get the seat," Shane repeated. "The what?" said his skinny wife. "The seat from the jet. It parachuted," Shane pointed. "Over there." "Oh," said the fat man, mopping his face with a handkerchief. "Need any help?" "Nope," said Shane. He wished these intruders would leave him and the mannequin alone. A red-tailed hawk rode invisible thermals off the bare field. Shane touched the mannequin's hand, which was also gold. Somehow it felt more substantial than the face. Shane wondered if there was anything special in the zippered pocket of the mannequin's flight suit. He didn't want to check with these people watching. The high school boy smirked and kicked dirt clods. The mini-bike kid was about 12 and kept gunning the engine, trying to pop wheelies. He didn't ask or say anything, just surveyed the scene and drew his own silent conclusions before tearing off. Shane was glad to see him go because the mini-bike smelled like gas and was louder than a lawnmower. Shane watched him disappear through a windbreak of eucalyptus. When Shane at last turned to face the other spectators, he saw the fat man and his wife were now heading to their car. The 3 teenagers sauntered forward, their attitude different now, more cocky. "We'll take over from here, Bucky," the freckled ringleader said, spitting off to the side through a gap in his front teeth. Shane said nothing. His insides went cold. Legs felt numb and paralyzed. One of the teenagers had a wisp of hair over his upper lip, a first attempt at a mustache that looked more like a misplaced eyebrow. He started gathering up the parachute and announced, "Gonna cover my ceiling and walls with this crap." "Stop it," said Shane. "Whoa, Bucky," said Freckles. "Who put you in charge?" "My dad." "And where is your dad?" The freckled leader looked around. "I don't see him." Shane was too scared to answer. The older boy knelt down. His breath smelled rotten and burnt. "Come on, Bucky, give us the dummy." "No." Don't cry, okay? We ain't gonna hurt you, but Ray here, he wants that parachute and I want the dummy." "No." Ray now had the parachute completely balled up. He dropped it near the dummy's head. "Come on, man, let's split before someone comes." "Bucky here don't want to part ways." "Let's see him try to stop us," said Splotchy. "He's got a point," said Freckles. "Come on, Bucky, I want that dummy. Got plans for it." Then he started enumerating all the inventive ways he could put the dummy to good use, most of them stupid practical jokes. His hidden intention was to make Shane laugh, cajole him into giving up possession, but the lewdness of some of the pranks worked against him. Shane didn't laugh. He just felt panicked and disgusted. Freckles narrowed his eyes and spit off to the side again. "And of course Ray here needs 10,000 pairs of silk panties." Ray aimlessly threw a dirt clod and said, "Shut up, I told you, I'm going to cover the walls and ceiling in my bedroom." "Right, your bedroom," said Freckles, then to Shane. "So, what do you say?" That's the end of part 1.